Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday the 5th of October. So starting off looking at the potential risk impact. Let's just bring this up and look at the calendar for today. Just do a refresh on this, a secondary refresh, just so I get all the data on it. There we go. So just a review of yesterday then. We'd already looked at the New Zealand rates at 5.5%. ADPs came in disappointingly for the US dollar, and we saw some chop coming through as a consequence of that. I always say the ADP is as useful as chocolate teapot, but it might give it. They've broadened the size of the of the range that they count from. So maybe it'll get a bit closer, but it's almost redundant because on Friday we get proper non-farms. So today though we've got not a great deal here. Construction PMI in the UK is already, it's 9:30. Unemployment claims in the US, that might be looked at a little bit closer because of the ADPs, so we might get a little bit more volatility off of that. And the IVPMI Canada, nothing much comes from that normally. So a quiet day on the eastern front or western front, on the front there. Let's just check for speakers. Let's just run through onto this new system. It's good for speakers. ECB speaker there at 9 o'clock. Casimir. Bank of England broadband speaker at 10:45, and ECB speaker at 10:45 as well, so a couple of speakers there. And then look, whole list of speakers this afternoon. Not too sure what they're speaking about, but they're speaking, and this service lets you know every one of them. But so from 2 o'clock through, looks like there's a speaker every 30 minutes or so, or less. Right, so watch out this afternoon. Could get a little bit choppy, but most of these guys, most of these speeches and what's happening from these central banks they represent has already been out there and it's on the table. So it's unlikely to change too much unless data has changed. Right, looking at the markets, we'll start off looking euro dollar. Euro dollar remains in this extremely bearish trend. We've had this retrace. Yesterday it got quite choppy. I'm looking at it as at the moment and just thinking, well, it's got a bit of time, but it's just erring on the bearish side. You see, it's quite messy though on this hourlies. For me to be selling this market, really looking below the daily pivot. I'm just going to put a signal on the pivot there, just so it wakes me up at that stage. Brings my attention to it. That's what I meant, not wake me up at all. So it brings my attention to it. Of course, it could be bouncing off the 34 and the 50. They're just sort of sitting there, either or of them. Okay, the pound, again looking extremely bearish. Again looking bearish on the 4 hourlies. And of course we're seeing this rollover. It could be played back to the pivot, of course, but there's not a sufficient reward on it. But again, I'd be looking for the breakdown here and the targeting towards the S1 and those prior lows here. So that's what I'm looking for on that, and I'm going to just pop an indicator on here, so it brings my attention to when it's nearly done. US dollar yen, it's catching a horrible bounce at the moment. I was all for the downside on this, but it's a dithery one. Someone asked me yesterday, "Are you going to come out of your short?" And I said, "Well, no, not really, because I've got a stop on it, and I might track the stop at some stage just to." But at the moment, well, it's coming back to the underside here. We've got some support. The softness we saw, the strength we're seeing of the US dollar at the moment, maybe it will carry on through. It really is slow. Yesterday, when everything else seemed to be moving a little more, it just chopped. But when we saw I compared it to what it looked like when there was some intervention of sorts last time, and it took a few weeks to actually roll over. So expectations, got to get them right. Aussie dollar, bit more of a bounce on the Aussie dollar, but it's coming off at the moment. The current 4 hourly, it's just edging off here, but it had quite a move there through the Asian session. Again, it's got the probability of hitting the daily pivots pretty good. It's quite a distance below. Could be a trade post 8 o'clock. US dollar CAD. We've seen this is inverted moves effectively. So it's the US dollar strong against the CAD, and it's just continuing pushing. Now there is a divergence running across, or there will be a divergence running across top there for the natural, just for the simple reason prices retrace then push back up again. So calculations, whether using MACD or RSI, should show some sort of divergence here, I'd have thought anyway. But a break of the lows between the two highs would be interesting to me. I'm going to just move this. I had a signal set up ready to go and it didn't clip it yesterday. I'm just popping that on there to see if it does break down. That'd be interesting, but really at the moment with what's going on here, it's much more bullish than anything else. New Zealand dollar just coming off. It's the same as the Aussie. It's not really worth looking at there. The US, the Swissy, a bit more interesting, but looks like the Canadian dollar. In fact, this is actually it's more. This is perhaps a little bit more interesting. I'm looking at this sort of retrace at the moment that we're seeing. It's inverted euro, of course, and that's what it looks like. So again, it would be a break of the pivot there. But if I've got the pound and the euro set up, I don't really need to set this one up as well. Hi, Dean. What else have I got there then? Euro yen, just looking at the regular, the euro yen's gone horrible again. It's so similar to the dollar yen. Really not doing too much there. The other cross pairs, euro pound, not a great pattern here. It's quite ugly. It could switch southbound again, but it's all got a bit choppy. I want to trade that when it's in trends, not when it's chopping, because it sits too much time in chop. The euro Aussie, this looks like it had a nice path on the downside. Maybe this is going to come off some more. We'll see what it does this morning. I'm just looking at key moving average a little bit higher up there. Price just bouncing off it at the moment. Already done so much on a daily basis. It's already done more today than it had yesterday, so might be a bit of a difficult one to try and make money out of that. Euro CAD. Now this could be interesting. It's finally it's done its monthly, it's back into its new quarterly pivot here, and see what reaction we get off of this. We could see a little bit more reaction. I shall watch this morning, readjust this trend line here, adjust it because we've got another higher low coming in off here, so we'll see what develops here. But it's having a reaction. Now we could look to jump in earlier on with a tighter stop effectively, with potential better return. Let's just get rid of this there. But I'm actually interested personally on the cross there of the trend line. So just create that, put the alarm on that. So there's an alarm on that trend line now, and really that's what I'm looking at. But this has, as I say, moving quite nicely in what was it's been a decent bounce. Popped some fibs on there, and it's between 38-50% retrace. Looks quite good. Euro New Zealand. So with the fibs on there, that will give us some confluence. Euro New Zealand, similar issues. It's come under the monthly pivot there, and it's a little bit. It's actually moved now. It's broken through the Asian session here. I was looking at it yesterday. It's actually rolling over here. A breakdown, another bar down here, effectively, or a break of these lows could see us running down towards that 175.58 area. So those prior lows over here. So we'll see how it shapes up there. So there's there is something potential there. Should put alerts on there as well. Okay, so I've got a few alerts kicking through to watch. If you're on the short list this morning, we'll look at others, etc., in the room in a short while. So that will do there for now. There's something at least to look at. It's a quick look at gold, oil, and the indices. So gold, needless to say, still selling off. I was looking at the sentiment from the retail side of things. They're still very bullish on this. Needless to say, the sentiment from the big money is not quite so bullish on this. Really, this looks like it could just continue to the downside. I was looking at silver. I think on Monday this too is coming down. 18 bucks was where it got last time, and it was quite a bit more interesting. Let's see if it gets down to that sort of level. For now it's firmly down, so not going to look to buy it. I'm keeping an eye on it this time, because last time when it did start bouncing I missed it really. Oil, well, oil's continuing its southbound route here. Much bigger correction. I mean, it's just broken through its quarterlies. All of the OPEC have agreed they'll keep the production levels lower, but maybe that's not just to really get rocking the market at the moment. So a bit of patience before we get a bounce now. So that's off the cards for me at this stage. Looking at the equity markets, S&Ps largely continuing to the downside in the big picture. However, we did get a bounce yesterday, but that looks like it's just on the turnover again here. So we just about put a lower high in on the hourlies. Does look soft again, a bit like the euro dollar. It looks very similar to the euro dollar. I'd be waiting for the break of the pivot there, and then we'll see if we can get a run back down towards the lows. Back to the bigger picture. There we go. Dow Jones, similar softness. Had the retrace yesterday, but rolling over at the moment. And the Nasdaq, similar. Double bottom, a little bit more strength. If things were to change this morning or today, and we get a bit more bounce, well, this got some targets above there which could just actually form further resistance. Okay, the DAX this morning. Well, we saw the continuation yesterday morning, and but it's again looking like it's could easily just roll over. And again, the pivot is a key area for me there from the sell point. Did come up yesterday, and well, it ended up breaking that pivot in the end, but it was settling, and it looked like it was going to roll over. It did roll back a little bit, but with the data coming out there, it didn't really help things. Okay, so that's where we are at the moment. Oh, I better do the FTSE, hadn't I? Sorry guys. Well, that looks firmly on the short-term downside there. It just looks so lovely for possible continuation here. This is much nicer developed than some of them, because it's already below its pivot, and that looks like a good potential for further sell-off there. Right, that's pretty much it for me. It's 8 o'clock's just pitched in. That's done. I'll catch you tomorrow morning. You take care out there, trade carefully, and as I say, I'll speak to you in the morning. Bye for now. Right.